Good morning. The North Idaho State Fair 2024 Market Swine Show. I think we're about 5 minutes from getting started. Hey, so I think we're about 5 minutes away from getting started.
Thanks, Josie.
Can I get everybody to stand and get ready for our national anthem? Can we please stand for the national anthem?
And it's why
Class 1 to the holding pens. And while they make their way to the holding pens, I'd like to take this time to introduce our judge this year. No stranger to the North Idaho State Fair. He's back, Mr. Tyler Norvell. Tyler currently serves as the Executive Director of the Oklahoma Youth Expo, a position he's held since January 2012. In this role, Tyler is responsible for the fundraising efforts of the nonprofit organization. He oversees an annual livestock show with more than 8,000 exhibitors and 13,000 animals, and is responsible for approximately $3.5 million in awards and scholarships distributed to the OYE participants. Tyler also serves as the managing partner of Norwell Consulting, LLC, where he provides lobbying and consulting services, as well as marketing strategies for a host of his clients. Tyler is a graduate of Oklahoma State University, where he earned a degree in animal science. Tyler served as the 2012-2013 OSU Animal Science Alumni Board Chairman and is a proud lifetime member of the Oklahoma State University Alumni Association, the Oklahoma Cattlemen's Association, and the Sirloin Club of Oklahoma. Tyler and his wife Beth currently live in Tuttle, Oklahoma, with their 2 daughters, Madeline and Sailor. Tyler Norvell, he's our judge today, folks. Give him a hand. And that's New Heights Roofing. New Heights Roofing is a proud sponsor of the Jacqueline Barn at the North Idaho State Fair. Your generous support ensures that the Jacqueline Barn continues to be a premier venue for showcasing our agricultural exhibits and providing an excellent experience for all attendees. New Heights Roofing is renowned for its top quality roofing services, offering expert installation, repair, and maintenance to keep homes and businesses safe and secure. Their dedication to excellence and customer satisfaction makes them an invaluable partner in our community. Thank you, New Heights Roofing, for your outstanding support and contribution. Your support plays a critical role in the success of our event, and we are deeply grateful.
On those guys, so we're going to pull from here. Okay.
Entering the ring now, Hampshire Class 1, we have Gwyneth Reagan, Layla Deeds, Kalina Vopat, Colin Barossa, Addison Forsman, Anna Marie Marshall, Margaret Cook, and Adeline Lindmeyer. First call, Class 2. First call, Class 2 to the holding pins.
Are these lights out?
Test, test. Well, it's extremely good to be back again here in Coeur d'Alene at the Northern Idaho State Fair, and not just because it's 105 back home. This weather's just awesome, and these kids are awesome. I loved this show so much last year and was so honored to get to come back, and we're going to have a fun morning working with these young people and evaluating their hogs, and it's a good start here in the Hampshire show. I think these two hogs that come to the top, they rise for me because they got that added show barrow look and presence to them, but of the pair, there's one that's just a little more ready to roll in terms of his skin and hair. He proportionalizes better from the side profile. He gets out and he moves a little truer and a little freer. He just got a lot of good things about him. Young lady over here to my right is going to be our class winner. Congratulations to her. There's no doubt about it, this bear in the middle of the ring's got a big old open back in him. He's got a square hip, and when you go to the ground, I like his foot and bone size better than this hog that's going to win. Unfortunately for me, he doesn't proportionalize as well from the side profile. Doesn't have that added lower rib and flank in him that our class winner has, but a really nice pair to start us off. This young lady's hog that's going to come in third here, I think just a good practical type of pig, a good bodied pig that's right in terms of his degree of finish at this point and his weight. He's got some spread down his top and out of his hip. Now, he doesn't have near the foot and bone and overall presence of those hogs that are on the top end of the class. Maybe gets a little shorter out of his hip, but a really practical, good hog to be here in third place. Super long body type hog here that comes in fourth, really open and robust in his rib and loin. I love that about him. Unfortunately, he just gets a little heavy up in his front end through his chest. Too frail in his general bone work and just doesn't come together from a design standpoint compared to those hogs on the top end of the class. And hey, the top two are purple. Young lady's hog that's coming in here fifth. Another one, a lot of good meat animal shape in this guy, really up-headed and extended through his front end. Unfortunately, compared to those top ones, easily the frailest boned one. When he moves away from behind you, he gets just a little too narrow there at his base as he's moving away from you. Young lady's hog coming next, very similar. I thought it was a close placing there for fifth between this pair. The sixth place hog, very expressive in her muscle shape, especially through her rump and ham. Unfortunately, probably the tightest bodied, flattest ribbed one in the class. The gilt coming out here in seventh, this particular young lady's hog, extremely heavy muscled, maybe too extreme, very ripped in her back, very expressive in her ham and loin. Unfortunately, she's a little bow-legged from behind, a little too frail in her bone work compared to how powerful she is in the top side of her skeleton. Then the gilt that's going to round us out, a lot of length and extension, very long from her shoulder forward. Unfortunately, she's just the narrowest gauge, lightest muscled hog in this particular class. Put your hands together for a really nice class to start us off.
And coming back from Class 1, Layla Deeds and Addison Forsman. Class 2 entering the ring, we have Bobby Hunter, Camden Bradshaw, Hayden Johnson, Courtney Ross, Kinley McMurray, Isaac Green, Cannon Adams, and Olivia Barnhart. First call, Class 3. Class 3 to the holding pens. Just a quick reminder for the kids in the ring in the last class. After Class 3 Hampshires, our class winners will be back for Hampshire Finals. Following Class 3 goes Hampshire Finals.
Okay. Ready. A lot of differences here in this particular class of Hampshires, and some of them that aren't wanting to act real well. But as we get out here, I think there's one that is super dense and robust and opened up in his skeleton. He still balances good enough for me. He's good enough in his structure, needs to win. It's the black-headed hog right here in the middle of the ring. That young man's going to have your class winner. Young man, you're lucky because my kids know I do not like hogs colored the way your hog is. But guess what? He's the best one and he's going to win. But the color pattern's always thrown him off for me balance-wise. If I could tweak him just a bit, he wants to bow ever so slightly in his hind leg. That's where I would change him. The hog in second most similarly follows our class winner in terms of shape and power and muscle. This hog just continued to grow on me, this gilt did. In the big picture compared to our class winner, she's not quite as unique in her design from the side profile. She don't want to get her head up and present herself as well. Maybe just doesn't move quite as well and have that added presence of our class winner. Not quite the freshness down her top in her overall design, but a real solid pig to be coming in third. The young man coming in third, he's got a lot out of this gilt. Young man, I can tell you've worked at home. Her skin and hair is good. She shows well. I wanted to move her up even higher, but when you really start studying her, she really loses out to that top pair in terms of her rib shape, especially down through her lower flank. She's just not quite as open and robust. And then you go to the ground, she's not as big boned as those top three, but good job to that young man for getting that one presented so well. The hog that comes in fourth, I think logically went there. It's got more substance and quality and more completeness than the four behind her in this particular lineup, but yet doesn't have the added look and design that I'm wanting in these hogs now. But she is wide. She's a good market animal. Coming in fifth, this is really a problem hog. He is so wide and pulled apart and robust. He's good potential carcass value in him. Unfortunately, he is the poorest designed and poorest structured hog in the class, so what do you do with him? His hind leg is not near functional enough for me. There were times I even thought about moving him further down, but this being a market show, and he checks a lot of boxes in that area, I went ahead and left him in the fifth hole. Then we get into a trio of gilts, I believe, right here down the bottom end of the class that are tall and long and growthy. All of them just need more shape and genuine freshness to them and be pulled apart. But the gilt that's going to go in sixth place, to me, just had a little bit more to her than the ones in seventh and eighth. The seventh place hog, unfortunately, is not acting well at all, not letting herself be shown. She does have some meat animal shape in her, especially through her rump and ham. Unfortunately, she just gets too frail boned and her attitude's not real good today. Then the hog that's going to finish the class out, very growthy individual, has got some frame and length. Unfortunately, just the frailest bone, the least shapely, just carrying a little extra condition, need more muscle to go along with that. But a nice class of Hampshires with a lot of differences.
Coming back from Class 2, Isaac Green and Camden Bradshaw. Entering the ring now, we have Hampshire Class 3, Sabrina Collins, Wiley Hathaway, Cannon Steckman, Jude Zender, Kuiper Vopat, Joseph Marshall, Taylor Howell, and Brantley Belford. At the conclusion of Class 3, we have our Hamp finals.
Here in our final class of Hampshires, these hogs are getting to be a little bigger, and these two kind of surface to the top for me because they're the combination of design and acceptable balance with more than enough muscle and finish and where they need to be. And of the pair, there's one that's just a little more highly presented. The young lady gets her brought together a little better from the side profile. Then you get on top of her, she's so much fresher down her back. She's really the only hog in here that has genuine shape over a rib and loin for me, so she needs to win. It's young lady's Gilt in the middle of the ring. She'll be your class winner. Congratulations to her. This hog that's going to be second gets around the ring really well, and that's why the bear is going to be second because of his structural correctness compared to some others in here. He gets his head up, balances fairly well. Unfortunately, just doesn't have, like I talked about, the genuine shape of our class winner. The hog in third is the one to me that's the next most fault-free. Just kind of worked itself up into third place by process of elimination. This gilt's got some depth of rib. She's got some length of body and growth to her. She's adequate in her muscle, but yet she gets a little plainer compared to these top two. Doesn't get out here and just catch your attention as quick as those top two hogs. Then we get into a pair of hogs here in third and fourth that are very muscular compared to some others in here, but unfortunately their structural integrity really concerns me. They want to really get out on their outer hoof wall, really bow in their hind leg and get really frail in their bone and their jaw work. So I got to work them down a little bit. And they're very similar. The hog in fifth gets a little more jammed up in his head and neck compared to the one in front of him. That's why he goes fifth. Doesn't have a real great attitude either. But hang in there, young man. Keep trying with that one. Our hog that comes next is one that's got some depth of rib, some depth of body, but unfortunately we just need more shape to go along with that, more turn to his rib cage, be more pulled apart underneath. And the pair of hogs that'll go around the class out, very growthy, I assume very efficient eaters, but unfortunately just hadn't put on the meat animal shape they need to go along with it. Of the pair, the one that's going to go in seventh just has a little more substance of bone underneath his skeleton, and that's why he moves up. Congratulations to our exhibitors. Rounded out our Hamp show. Let's give them a nice round of applause.
And coming back from Class 3, Taylor Howe and Joseph Marshall. And our Hampshire finalists, Layla Deeds, Addison Forsman, Camden Bradshaw, Isaac Green, Joseph Marshall, and Taylor Howe. Those are your Hampshire finalists.
Well, a nice Hampshire show to start us off, and a lot of differences. And as we get out here, you can tell with the two I'm looking at that it comes down to, and a very, very much different in their weight, almost 40 pounds difference in them. I'm going to talk them both and tell you which one I like the best. The young lady's lightweight bear. This one is so well presented in terms of his skin and hair. I think this bear proportionalizes really, really well. I love his shape down his top. I love his hip and hind leg and the way he handles it. Now, let's be real, he's not quite there yet. He's pretty immature still. I think he's got better days ahead of him compared to the hog, the black-headed hog. He's not near as robust in his rib shape quite yet, just not quite the sheer power there. He doesn't get out and present himself like that black-headed bear does. The longer he's out here, he's getting a little better, but that's a nice hog. The black-headed hog, you can't build one much wider and more open up through his rib and his loin and his lower body. He's one, for as powerful as he is, he balances fairly well for me. I guess my question is, when he goes away from you, his hind leg, he get just a nickel Bowie. It's not terrible, but that's where I'd like to change him. That's why I told the young man, he kept circling him. I said, just take him straight away. I wanted to get a look, because the more you circle him, young man, the worse it looks. And whenever I got a straight look, it doesn't concern me quite as much, but that is definitely where I would change him. I think it's really close. I think you can go either way, but at the end of the day, I keep telling myself it's a market show. You gotta go with the one that's ready today. The black-headed hog's gonna be your champion. Congratulations to that young man. Okay.
And your Hamp final placings, your top three. In third place, Camden Bradshaw. Your reserve champion, Layla Deeds. And your Hampshire Grand Champion, Isaac Green. Entering the ring now, Light Cross Class 1. Light Cross Class 1 entering the ring. Parker Sterling, Ashlyn Stevens, Riley Gregg. First call, Light Cross Class 2. Also in Light Cross Class 1, Lyle Kunze, Bryson Hunter, Wyatt Storley, Addison Jolly, Tommy Yoakum, and Addison Kunze.
I think a very challenging class to start us off. I think you can do a lot of things in this class and justify it. The only thing that must be done by anybody is find this gilt to start, or this hog to start the class. This Barra, easily the most show ring presence, stoutest bone, best balance, most muscle. But I'll be the first to admit, she is too bowy for me in her hind leg. We need to fix her there, but she excels everywhere else. She wins very easily. After that, I think it gets real close, and a lot of different types and kinds and a lot of things you can do. And there's probably no right answer on how to place these, but I kind of went back to the basics of carcass characteristics, muscle, finish, rib, and volume, and these two hogs in second and third kind of excel there, being the more moderate hogs that are more robust in the rib shape, a little wider down their top and out of their hip. That's why they go second and third for me. Of the pair, the hog that goes second just proportionalizes better. That hog in third just gets a little long and stretched out. In fourth place, we've got a hog that is very moderate, and it kind of works against him, but he's stout-skulled, he's wide-based. Unfortunately, he just gets jammed up in his front end. It's too frail in his overall bone work. In 5 and 6 here, we got a pair of hogs that are very shapely, and that's why they moved up for me. Very shapely. I love their top shape. Of the pair, the blue gilt here in front of me is just presented a little better. She balances better, but she's just way too hard in her body type, too flat in her overall rib shape. Almost the exact same thing can be said about this gilt here in 6th. Not quite as well presented as the one in 5th in terms of skin and hair and freshness today, but just needs more rib and volume. As we get down here, 7th through 10th, this hog here that's coming in 7th, just a little too long-bodied and flat rib, but really level-hipped and correct in his hip and hind leg structure. Real growthy, framey gilt here in 8th. Unfortunately, just no meat animal shape and genuine shape down her back. The gilt that comes in 9th wants to get a little humped up in her top and get her hind leg underneath her, need a little more foot and bone, but a lot of length and extension here. And then the hog that's going to round the class, the blue rump gilt, just is probably the narrowest base and narrowest gauge one in this particular class.
And coming back from Light Cross Class 1, Riley Gregg. Entering the ring now, Light Cross Class 2, Ella Kunze, Braylee DiPolito, Alexis Jennings, Garrett Booth, Ruby Stevens, Peyton Storley, Ella Hathaway, Shelby Roberg, and Matthew Green. At the conclusion of this class, we will have the Light Cross Finals. So all of our returning kids come back after this class for our Light Cross Finals.
These two are. Well, a nice class in our final class of light cross hogs, and we get a pair of gilts that kind of surface to the top. And of the pair, there's one that's just a little more functional in the way they handle their hind leg, a little better from a design standpoint. Her thirds match together a little better and just comes together in terms of presence and eye appeal for me. It's the dark blue gilt over here on the far side. That young man will have your class winner. No doubt the gilt here in second is very highly presented. I love her skin and hair. I love her front 2/3. She is very ripped down her back. We get into her hip though. She's a little shorter hip, a little lower in her tail set. Doesn't flex that hind leg quite as well as our class winner. That's the difference I see in them, but a nice pair there. Then it gets a little closer from here on down. The hog that comes in third, very well presented. Congratulations, you young lady, getting that hog looking that well. You do a good job showing that hog, and that really helped you in this class. Your hog can compete with those top two in terms of presence, balance, eye appeal, structural correctness. I probably like her hip and hind leg better than the hog, his hip and hind leg better than the hog in second. Unfortunately, you move in behind this hog today, there's just not enough of him. He gets too flat in his rib, too narrow in his ham, and we got to move him down. The hog that follows our first and second place hogs, more similar in terms of potential carcass value, finish and rib and volume and overall muscle is the hog here in fourth. Unfortunately, not quite as shiny as those top three, not quite the presence of those top three. Just gets a little plainer than his bone work, plainer in his overall presentation, so we got to slide him down a few holes. The young lady's hog coming here in fifth. This gilt has some muscle expression to her and maybe has a slight advantage in that regard right out of her blade over her ham and loin compared to the hog in fourth. Unfortunately, just doesn't have enough eye appeal and look to move up any higher in this particular class. The predominantly white hog coming next, the blue speckled hog, really wide made up through his chest, but unfortunately he labors a little bit in the way he moves, wants to get his hind legs underneath him. And just not quite pulled apart, and that extra bone that we'd like to see in some of these hogs out here. Another predominantly white hog here in sixth, or excuse me, in seventh, not wanting to come out, but has some meat animal shape to him, just doesn't have enough bone, wants to get in his knee. Young lady's hog that's coming in eighth, very lean and expressive in his muscle, unfortunately really flat rib, wants to get up in his top when he moves and just totally takes away from the show ring presence that we need to have in him. Then the hog that's going to round the class out, sure enough depth of body, but when we move in behind this particular gilt, easily the narrowest gauge, lightest muscled hog in this particular lineup. Put your hands together for all our light cross exhibitors there in our final class.
And coming back from Light Cross Division 2, Garrett Booth and Matthew Green. Up next, we have our Light Cross Division finals. And your light cross finalists, Riley Gregg, Garrett Booth, and Matthew Green. Up now, light cross finals.
Only two classes in our light cross division, but the gilt that wins the first, or the bear, excuse me, I keep calling it the bear that wins the first class, won that class really, really easily, but it's kind of compared to what was in there. But this one's impressive in terms of foot and bone, how up-headed he is. He's robust in his overall rib. Now, for me, he's a little smaller in his kind, but the big deal is he gets really bowy on that hind leg. That young lady's doing all she can to hide it, but it's so obvious, and very rarely can you see how bowy they are from the side, but he even gets out on that outer hoof wall when you're walking beside him, and you can kind of read it from the side even. But man, she's done a good job getting that one presented. That's a quality hog. Then we got in that last class, there were 2 highly presented, fresh, show gilts in there that are shown as market animals today. They are opened up in their back. They got shape. They're later in their maturity pattern compared to that Class 1 Barra. What sorted that pair is that the blue rump gilt just is a little more functional in her hind leg, a little more proportionalized from the side. But man, they're fresh. They're ready to roll. They're more functional in their structural makeup. I'm going to use those 2 out of the heavyweight class, keep them together for champion and reserve. Congratulations. Good job, buddy.
And your light cross division champion, Garrett Booth. Your light cross reserve champion, Matthew Green. And our 3rd place finisher, Riley Gregg. Entering the ring now, dark cross class 1. Dark cross class 1 entering the ring now. First call, dark cross class 2. For dark cross class 1, we have Piper Besh, Candace Teal, Aria Hardy, Lauren Reardon, Grayson Haynes, Sawyer Huston, Clark Williams, and Dawson Hunter.
Well, as we start our dark cross division here, I think these two kind of rise to the top in terms of freshness, the shape, body volume, and expression of muscle. And I think the belted hog pretty easily wins. He's just got more balance to him. He's got more depth to his lower rib, and that helps him proportionalize. His attitude's kind of getting sorry out here, but I think a logical place to start. And I think a logical second place hog here in the black gilt. I like her head and her neck and her length of extension up front. I love her freshness of back and her muscle shape, just not as pulled apart underneath, not quite as fleshy through her lower rib, and doesn't have the shape that I'm looking for down there. The hog that comes in third is going to beat the one in fourth just because he's more practical in her body type. She's softer middle. She's got more shape to her rib as well. And then you set him in motion. She's just more flexible and looser skeleton. Now that hog is a little frail bone compared to our top end hogs. It doesn't have quite the added expression of muscle as those top two, but I think a logical place to go third. The fourth place hog, no doubt, as extreme in muscle as anything out here. Big old ditch in his back. Big old stout hip in him. Unfortunately, he's just harder doing, a little harder body. And then you set him in motion of the top four easily, the tightest in his skeleton. I've got to move him down a bit. Then we get fifth, sixth, and seventh out here. Hogs that are a little taller fronted, a little flatter ribbed, a little tighter in their middle of them. The blue hog's just got a little more shape to him than the black hog, and the calico pig here coming in seventh. The black hog's a little more opened up right behind his blade. The calico hog, unfortunately, just gets real high topped, really frail in his overall general appearance. And the hog that's going to round the class out definitely has some depth of rib, but we just need more genuine meat animal shape for consumers for this one, more foot and bone underneath her as well. To put something like that in the food chain, we just need to pull her apart.
Coming back from Dark Cross Class 1, Piper Besh. Entering the ring now, we have Dark Cross Class 2, Kimber Ellison, Roman Bruner, Alicia Cameron, Kinsley Ellison, Blake Williams, Ace Nicholson, Sandy Matthews, and Lincoln Babb. Dark Cross Class 2. First call, Dark Cross Class 3 to the holding pens.
here in our second class of dark crosses. I think we got a pair of hogs that rise to the top that are more opened up and they're skeletal. They come with you and go away with more width than any of the rest of them in the class. But of the pair, there's one. He's not perfect on his hind leg, but he's better than the other, and he's functional enough. And he's just a little fresher down his top. He's a little neater through his shoulder forward, and just comes together better for me. The young lady's calico bear here in front of me, he'll be the class winner. Now, he is a touch frailer bone, and he doesn't move quite as free on his hind leg as ideal, but I think he's still better in those areas in terms of mobility compared to the black hog. No doubt the black gilt is bigger footed and stouter bone than our class winner, and that's what makes it close. But she really wants to get outside herself. She's so wide, she's starting to push her hocks and bow a little bit. But man, that one's got some real neat pieces to her in terms of foot and bone and overall stoutness and power. Unfortunately, she's carrying an ear too, but she kind of held through that better than I thought she would as she came out holding that ear. But a nice pair to start us off here on the top end. The young lady that's going to be third, a hog that is similar in terms of openness and robustness compared to our top two, but unfortunately when you really study this hog, not near the expression and potential cutability in this guy compared to those top two. When he moves away from you, he gets a little narrow from behind, and then he just gets a little short and jammed up everywhere. That's a nice hog to be standing in third. I don't mean to be ultra critical. No doubt the hog in fourth has more length and extension, probably a little more trimness and leanness compared to the hog that goes in third. But unfortunately, the top four, that's the lightest muscled hog. That gilt really gets pretty narrow as she goes away from you, and I'd like to change her there. The hog that's coming in fifth, they just told me this young man won the average daily gain. Congratulations to him. I think that's really important that we can put weight efficiently on these hogs, because a lot of them don't grow well anymore. If you feed show bears, you know that. So congratulations to you, young man, on being the high in the average daily gain. Let's give him a round of applause. He brings a hog that's very extended, had a lot of lean muscle growth. He goes fifth for me because he's just got more meat animal shape than the hogs left in the rest of the class. The black and white hog got some depth of rib, comes out of his blade very open, but then he narrows and kind of wedges from there back, and I've got to move him down. The belted hog coming next, one that definitely has more meat animal shape in him than the one in eighth, but unfortunately gets too jammed up in his front end, frail in his bone work, and just not quite as free in his skeleton. Then the calico hog that's going to round the class out, very long, very framing, just need more genuine muscle and shape to go along with that frame.
And coming back from Dark Cross Class 2, Ace Nicholson and Kimber Ellison. And another shout out to Roman Bruner. He's your #1 overall average daily gain winner. Congratulations, Roman. Just want to give a huge shout out to Kootenai Shoshone Farm Bureau, Joe Dobson, Caldwell Banker, and Kootenai Title for sponsoring the Average Daily Gain Award. Your support helps us recognize and celebrate the hard work and dedication of our participants who achieve amazing results. Kootenai Shoshone Farm Bureau is a big supporter of our local agriculture, helping to strengthen and advocate for our farming community. Joe Dobson at Caldwell Banker is known for providing excellent real estate services, ensuring clients find their perfect homes and properties. Kootenai Title offers top-notch title services, making sure all real estate transactions go smoothly and securely. Thank you for all your fantastic support. We really appreciate it. Entering the ring now, we have Dark Cross Class 3, Emma Cook, Aiden Horsley, Addison Yokin, Emmett McNee Green, Kyra Turcott Griffin, Timani, and Sophia Vickery. So while our judge is taking a quick break, I also wanted to point out that our division awards, the banners and such that they're getting right now, those were sponsored by Sean Booth at B&B Showstock. We want to thank Sean for sponsoring the Swine Division banners. Your support helps us celebrate the hard work and dedication of our swine exhibitors in style. B&B Show Stock is known for producing top quality show pigs and providing excellent guidance to breeders and exhibitors. Their commitment to excellence and community involvement means a lot to us. Thank you to our Swine Division. We will have the best banners, making the event more special for everyone involved. Thank you, Sean Booth.
think a challenging class to put together, but going back to the basics of muscle shape, overall dimension, meat animal shape, with enough rib and volume to go along with it. These are the two that rise to the top. But of the pair, there's one that just balances better in terms of proportionality, a little softer through his rear rib and flank, and just stays together better on the side profile. It's a young man on the far side. That bear is going to win this particular class. This hog in second, when he came out of his pen, boy, he is impressive down his back and through his rump. Man, that's a good cutability hog. That hog's got a lot of good in him. Now, he doesn't have the show ring presence and presentation some others have. He's a little stained up, but man, that's a nice hog. But the longer he's out here, he just gets a little more rugged and rigid in the way he moves off that hind leg, so I had to slide him into second. Young lady's hog that comes in third just kept growing on me just because stuff I've been talking about, his market qualities and characteristics. You know, he's a little freer moving than that hog directly in front of him. I like his flank, but man, you really study him, just not quite the true expression of muscle compared to those top two. But still, I think a logical third place hog. Now, we get into a pair of hogs here in 4 and 5, have a lot of lean muscle growth and almost to an extreme. These two are so lean and powerful and expressive down their top. They got big ditches. This belted hog's got big legs. Unfortunately, this gilt just gets too hard-bodied, just a little more restrictive in her movement. The black hog, very big ditch down here, her back as well, but easily the shallowest bodied, hardest ribbed hog in this particular class, and got to move those down. But appreciate how fresh those two are in their back. The red hog that comes next, I moved him up, this gilt up a little bit because, man, she's good bodied, she's fresh, she's good to look at. The young lady's done a nice job presenting her, but you move in, and this is probably the lightest muscled hog in the class, so I had to keep her down a bit, one of the frailer bone ones. But my hat's off to you for doing a nice job getting that one presented. The calico hog coming next, got some width, needing more genuine shape to go along with that width, gets a little plainer about his head and his bone than the hog that's going to round the class out. Didn't bring a great attitude today, unfortunately, just the poorest balance and poorest structured hog in the class, but yet still has some meat in him in the overall dimension. Nice class of hogs from top to bottom that have some width and power to them. I thought the two on the top just balanced up a little better.
And coming back from Dark Cross Class 3, Griffin Tamani. Entering the ring now, Dark Cross Class 4, Zachary Teal, Carson Horsley, Hazel Zender, Daniel Shoup, Ty Knopp, Kate Burnett, Benjamin Cook, Ellie Demers, and Tristan Pafford. First call, Dark Cross Class 5.
Big time good class here. Fun to sort, high quality animals. The young people are doing a good job. And I think there's a pair of them out here that are a little more opened up, a little wider based, a little robust in the rib cage, a little bigger, stouter footed. Of that pair, there's one that just continues to go with so much flex and ease, especially out of his hip and hind leg, and that's what's going to win him this class. I like the young man's bear to win. Now, no doubt he gets a little jammed up in his head and neck, a little cresty up there at the top of his neck, but the exact same thing can be said about the hog in second, so I got to go with him. This hog in second is the most extreme in his muscle. He's the freshest in his back, the most open up down his back, got the biggest ditch, the widest hip. That added muscle and expression probably works to his detriment a little bit because the longer he's out here, he's hammering that hind leg a little bit. He wants to get just a nickel Bowie, but that's a good pair of hogs, funnest pair to judge so far today. The gilt deserves to be out here in the hunt because that's a quality animal that's very highly presented. She just can't play in terms of stoutness and genuine ruggedness of skeleton compared to those top two. She is by far better through her head and neck compared to those two bears. But from there back, she just doesn't have any advantages over either one of them. She gets a little plainer in her top shape compared to those two. She gets a little plainer in her bone work compared to those two, but yet she easily excels everything else in this class in those areas, and that's why she needs to go third, in my opinion, pretty easily. The chromed up gilt that comes in next, very long bodied and extended, stout featured. I like that about her. She continued to grow on me, but you know, she's not quite as highly presented up through her front end. She's not quite as soft in her flank and as robust in her rib, but that's a nice hog that'll continue to get better the longer she's on feed. These are going down the line, this gilt that comes next, really like how level she is down her top and out of her hips. She's really wide in her pin set, just gets a little frail in her bone work, a little heavy and deep in her chest. As we keep coming down here, I think this was a really nice class of market hogs from top to bottom. The young man's bear that comes out next, got a lot of, very alert to his environment, a lot of presence to him, but unfortunately get behind him one of the lighter muscled hogs in this particular class. Total opposite here, really a moderate, wide-made hog that needs a little more shape, but mainly just needs more structural integrity to go along with that, maybe a nickel more leanness. The hog that comes next, definitely polar opposite of the hog in front of him, tall-fronted, very lean in his overall muscle shape, unfortunately, really hard-bodied and dry-flanked, just a little frail bone and harder moving than the hog that's going to round the class out. Unfortunately, just doesn't have any real meat animal shape in this hog, just gets too plain and too over-conditioned in his general appearance to move him up any higher.
And coming back for the finals from Dark Cross Class 4, tying up Zachary Teal and Ellie Demers. Entering the ring now, Dark Cross Class 5. We have Mercedes Hunter, Lucy Hardy, Elias Hardy, McKaylee Corey, Rowan Hardy, Kiera Ellison, Easton Darty, McKinley Thornton, and Caden Peterson. First call, Dark Cross Class 6.
Nice trio of hogs out here, and all three of them have enough dimension and power and freshness for me. And then I think you start sorting them on structural correctness, balance, design, proportionality. I think there's one that's got to win, and it's the calico gilt right here. She just presents herself so well, the way she's put together, and just floats about this ring. Now, I'll be the first to admit, of the three, if you get to comparing these top three, she might be the lightest muscled and the narrowest of the top three. But if you call that pig light muscled and does not enough shape and dimension, I would question your judgment on that. It gets close for me for second, but I think the one that most closely resembles our class winner from a balance standpoint is the other gilt in the class. She's going to be second. That young lady does a nice job presenting that gilt. She gets her head up. She's really nice in her hip and hind leg. Where she kind of gets off from a design standpoint for me, she's not as proportional. She gets pretty long from her blade to her hip. I'd like to make her blend a little better there, not be quite as sway top. But that's a nice gilt to be going in second. That probably has the freshest back, most open up back in this particular lineup. The bear that goes third, I like his openness of rib, his shape of rib. I just don't think he's quite as fresh in his general appearance today. And then he just doesn't balance up quite as well. He gets a little heavy in his front end, maybe a little choppy in the way he handles his hip and hind leg, but a very nice hog to be going in third place. I think we had a logical fourth place hog, and a hog that definitely has more dimension and meat animal shape compared to the ones behind her, but unfortunately just not quite as well presented, as well balanced and designed as those in front of her. The hog coming out next, one compared to the ones behind her, kind of the same story, has a little more dimension and muscle to her, especially through his rump and ham. Unfortunately, not a lot of potential cutability in that hog, not a lot of design in that hog. As we go down the lineup, we get into a set of darker red and crossbred hogs that just need more true cutability and shape and muscle in them. Of those, this hog's got the most ham. Oh, and that's the rated gain reserve champion, so congratulations to that young person. Congratulations to them. Hog coming next, a lot of length and extension, just too frail, too narrow gauge and light muscled for me. Kind of wonder where they're at and if they're quite ready to enter the food chain, because they just don't have enough meat in them. The hog coming next, real growthy, gets real heavy fronted, plain bone, and then the black hog is going to round the class out. Unfortunately, just the lightest muscled and least shapely.
Then coming back from Dark Cross Class 5, Kira Ellison and McKinley Thornton. And a shout out to Easton Darty, your number 2 overall average daily gain winner. Entering the ring now, we have Dark Cross Class 6, Jackson Collins, Kaylee Eider, Cale Carver, Raymond Brown, Andy Nicholson, Maddie Andrus, Landon Cederblum, and Cashin Haynes. First call, Dark Cross Class 7.
Nice pair of hogs to evaluate here. Two really stout, burly barrows that are really different in their type and kind. But there's one to me that's just looser in his skeleton, and there's no doubt about it. He just floats about the ring and gets out and takes a long stride, and his legs go right, and yet he's got a fresh back, a dense rib cage, big hip. I like him, a nice hog. Young man's bear right here in front of me is going to be your class winner. Congratulations to him. Now, no doubt this hog gets a little weak at his top line. I'll be the first to admit it, but I'm willing to take that for that structural correctness. The hog in second, his attitude's not the best. This hog is super well presented. Congratulations to you, young lady, how well presented and fresh that hog is today at this show. I like his top shape. I like the way how level he comes out of his hip. I like his stoutness of bone, everything about him. He is just too tight in his skeleton for me to move him up any higher. If we could change him there, that pair gets extremely close if we could loosen him in his skeleton. The hog that comes in third's got that show barrow look to him, really tall-fronted, runs uphill, really has some moments where I really like that barrow, but he too is a little restricted in his movement, not near the freshness of shape and freshness of back of those top two hogs. Now, no doubt the calico here in fourth is more similar to first and second in terms of freshness of back and muscle shape. Unfortunately, just too dry-bodied for me and just doesn't balance quite as well as those top three. As we move on down the lineup, the young lady's hog coming here in fifth, one that has a ton of muscle. He is the heaviest muscled hog in this class, but it works to his detriment because it takes away from his balance and his structural integrity for me, so I had to move him down knowing there were four hogs that were more than heavy enough muscled in front of him. Young man's hog coming next, this gilt, another one, and that's why she got a blue ribbon as well. Has a lot of shape and freshness, been fed well. Unfortunately, just too frail bone, a little shorter hip, doesn't have the design I'm looking for out here today. The black hog, very moderate, very wide and pulled apart, need more genuine shape to go with that width, need more eye appeal to go with that width, in particular foot and bone. The hog that's coming next, really extended up to the front 1/3, this hog is. Unfortunately, just one of the frailer made, drier bodied hogs out here that's too flat in the general rib shape. And then the calico that's going to round the class out, this bear is very long bodied, very attractive from the shoulder forward. Unfortunately, he's the shallowest bodied, frailest bone and narrowest gauge one in this particular class.
Coming back from Dark Cross Class 6, Landon Sitterbloom and Kaylee Eider. Now up, Dark Cross Class 7, Liam Otto, Colton Rendon, Cruz Knopp, Ryder Rendon, Hannah Stowe, Hunter McMurray, Samantha Spraker, Sterling Houston, and Jaron Knopp. First call, Dark Cross Class 8. Dark Cross Class 8 to the holding pens.
Yeah, we're turning up the heat here. These are 3 good bears. You can turn that third place out too. That's a good bear that deserves to be talked here on the top end. But there's one to me. There's one. This bear coming out super robust and wide open and a big back. Doesn't have balance and design like we need in bone. The hog on the far side, awesome from the side profile, square. Love his structure. Not quite as robust as the other 2 hogs in the ring. And then there's one that balances well, that's huge feet and leg, open up, big stout pin set, yet goes through the ground square. This one's pretty good. He's going to win. Congratulations to this young man. He's the combination of the 2 hogs behind him. One place I would tweak him, and it's being very nitpicky, he's right there in his ham loin. I would like to see him have a little more cover there and square up ever so slightly there, freshen up there. But man, that's a good hog. The hog in second has so much presence to him. He's so tall-fronted and runs uphill. He just floats around the ring. He's probably a little neater from his shoulder forward compared to our class winner, a little fresher in his crest, no doubt. And you get in behind him, the hog's got enough muscle for me. But yet when there's one that's almost as good designed as him or very similar, that's just more robust and open up and bigger at the ground, you got to go with that hog. The young man that went ahead and left, that was third, that's a really good hog to be standing third. He got a purple. That hog is so open up and robust and fresh, but just not the quality and design of those 2 on the top end. He got real jammed up in his front end, little shorter hipped, and unfortunately, for as massive as he is on the top side of his skeleton, he got a little average in his bone work. The gilt coming in fourth, I'd say excels with those top 3 in terms of potential carcass value and lean muscle growth and shape and dimension. Unfortunately, nowhere near the presence and balance of those top 3 in presentation. The black hog coming next, really soft-bodied, probably a little truer in the skeleton makeup than the gilt right in front of him. Unfortunately, that hog just not real fresh today, and he's got to move down with a class of this quality. Young man's bear coming here in sixth, one that does have a little more shape than the black hog right there in front of him, but unfortunately, really frail in his bone work, really off in terms of his balance. Had to roll him down just a little bit. The young lady's hog coming next, really a tall-fronted pig, really good coming out of his blade. Unfortunately, gets a little choppy in his step. You move in behind him real narrow underneath his skeleton. Need more base width to go with that overall muscle. No doubt the most extreme muscled one out here is probably the one in 8, and that's why he's got to go down. It works to his detriment. This hog really concerns me from a structural standpoint, how bowy he is on his hind leg and how much longer he's going to be able to walk as a market pig. But man, if you like muscle, he's got a lot of it. Then the red belted hog that's going to round the class out, definitely more functional in his structural makeup compared to the hog in front of him. Unfortunately, he's the lightest muscled, the least shapely hog in this particular class.
Coming back from Dark Cross Class 7, Jaron Knopp, Samantha Spraker, and Cruz Knopp. Entering the ring now, we have Dark Cross Class 8, Sophia Paliato, Taylor Wilcox, Avery Deeds, Weston Otto, Paul Shaner, Landon Carhart, Slander Tamani, and Hayden Cran. First call, Dark Cross Class 9. And a reminder, all of our class winners, all of our purple ribbon pigs come back after Class 9 for our Dark Cross Division Finals.
Top to bottom, the best class of the day. I walked over for him, started placing them, and said, all these kids are getting a blue because this is a good class from top to bottom. Yeah, give them a round of applause. But these two gilts rise to the top. They're the freshest, the most highly presented. But of the pair, there's one, and not to sound like a broken record, that's just a little better balanced, a little truer in her skeleton. It's young man in the orange here. She's going to win the class. Now, I'll tell you, young man, I don't mind fitting pigs, but the way you've got her fit, it draws it away from me. I like it when they're fit to go with the flow of the hair, not against it. That kind of work against you a little bit, but still, you got the best hog. She needs to win, but I don't love that about her, the way she's fit on those hind legs today. Now, no doubt, this may be as fresh of a back as we've seen all day as the gilt in second. Coming out of her blade, she is so open up in her rib, and that back shape is just incredible, and she carries a lot of muscle back through her hip and rump, and she handles it fairly good for as open up as she is, but the longer she's out here, she kind of hammers her hind leg just a little bit compared to our class winner, and then really what puts her in second for me, she's just a little frailer made. Regardless of the fit job or not, you can look, her foot's smaller, her bone's smaller. Third place hog, I thought logically went there, really a dense-bodied, capacious type of hog that's really open in his rib. He's wide from behind. Unfortunately, just doesn't have the shape of those top two. He needs more shape and freshness to go along with that width, but a nice, logical third place hog. Fourth and fifth, you can go ahead and turn fifth out too. This placing got really close for me. I think the hog that most closely follows the ones in front of him in terms of density, rib volume, width is this hog in fifth. Unfortunately, he doesn't have quite the shape of some others, but he goes fifth instead of fourth because he is not as good balanced as that hog directly in front of him. No doubt a very heavy muscled hog here in sixth. This gilt is extremely heavy muscled, and it kind of works to her detriment because she's one of the poorer balanced, frailer boned hogs. If we add bone and a little more eye appeal to that one, she's got some parts to move up a few spots. Hog coming next, super long-bodied. Young lady's done a good job with skin and hair. The hog balances well enough. You move in behind that gilt, though, probably one of the narrower base, narrower gauge hogs in this particular class. Young man's bear coming next, long and level. Unfortunately, one of the flatter made ones. Not a lot of turn to his rib cage, not a lot of base width as you move in behind him. And then the hog that's going to round the class out, hey, this is a good hog that would have stood a lot higher in some other classes today because that hog's got some lean muscle growth, some shape, some market characteristics you like to see. Fairly good in terms of her structure. Unfortunately, just really dry-bodied and flat rib and just doesn't balance well enough. But really nice class. Congratulations to all those exhibitors from top to bottom.
Coming back from Dark Cross Class 8, Paul Shaner and Avery Deeds. Entering the ring now, we have Dark Cross Class 9, Kendall Darty, Lucas Hunter, Colton Burnside, L.A. Brinkley, Larkin Tamani, Paige Wilcox, Ariana Daniels, and Keegan Michael. This is our last Dark Cross class. At the conclusion of this class, we have the Dark Cross Division Finals.
This is our last class, isn't it? This is the last. Okay. Yeah. Well, here in our final class of dark crosses, I think there's a hog that needs to win in the most fault-free in this red and black hog. Easily the loosest skeleton, easily the best design, that's got a muscle shape and dimension. It's not his fault he has a color pattern only his mother could love. He is not attractive to look at in terms of his color, but the young man, you've done a good job of getting him presented. I think a very easy place to start. It gets really close from there down, but I'm going to go with the hog that I think's got the most potential carcass value, the most opened up, the most shapely. This young lady's gilt right here. She's going to go second. Very impressive in terms of that regards. Maybe just a little stained up, not fresh in her skin and hair. Bear is not fresh in his skin and hair presentation. He gets a little hammer-legged, but that is one stout-featured burly sucker. Here in third place, another close placing between third and fourth, but the hog that's going to go third, the gilt's definitely more pulled apart and got more muscle through her rump and ham. That's what moves her up. The young man's hog that's coming in fourth, the predominantly black hog, really long, really practical in terms of fleshy and deep-sided, very production-oriented type hog, just doesn't have the shape and freshness of any of those in front of him. Fifth place hog coming out next. This gilt's got some lean shape to her. Definitely appreciate that about her. Her overall muscle expression through her top and hip, but just gets too frail boned for me and just doesn't balance as well as a couple of them in front of him. The hog coming out here in sixth, really tall fronted, growthy, long body, unfortunately a little harder doing, a little more rigid in her movement. The hog coming out next, this black-headed hog, another growthy one, deep-sided, just not enough meat animal shape. And then the young lady finishing the class out, I believe she finished third overall in the average daily gain. Congratulations to her. Just need more bone and true muscle in that guy. He's just got a little too much fat and condition compared to his muscle, and I worry about him from a cutability standpoint.
Coming back from Dark Cross Class 9, Colton Burnside. And a shout out to our number 3 overall ADG winner, Kendall Darty.
That's everybody coming back.
Up next is our Dark Class Division Finals. Coming back for the Division Finals, we have Piper Besh, Kimber Ellison, Ace Nicholson, Griffin Tamani, Ty Knopp, Ellie Demirs, Zachary Teal, Kiara Ellison, McKinley Thornton, Landon Cedarblum, Kaylee Eider, Jaron Knopp, Samantha Spraker, Cruz Knopp, Paul Shaner, Avery Deeds, and Colton Burnside. Those are your Dark Cross Division finalists.
Let's put our hands together for these dark cross exhibitors and a really good set of hogs. We're going to line up all our purples out here, and I think it's really, really close for a reserve champion. And we're going to come back and look at them. But as we get out here, I'm telling you, there's one pig that's just an absolute gangster. He is hard to put together in terms of that much power and dimension, to be that square and his feet to go the right ways and not to walk outside of his skeleton, and then to balance and design so well. If you've had many better pigs than this one at your county, I'd be surprised. This one right here is a good one. Congratulations.
And your Dark Cross Division champion, Jaron Knopp.
Well, usually when as a show judge, you get out here and you say, well, the one that most closely follows our champion, and I think that's an unfair statement because the champion to me was the kind of the combination package, and as we get out here, there's different types and kinds of pigs that you could go with. There's ones that are more moderate, more opened up, but they easily won their classes. And there's some that are a little better designed and not quite as fresh and as true in their back shape or as big in their bone. But the longer we get out here and study them, there's one that I just keep coming back to, and it's hard to find a big hole in this particular pig. The ones left out here, I'd say designed as good as any of them, structures as impressive as any of them. Now, they're not overwhelming in their bone compared to our overall champion. They're not as wide in their pin set, but man, I think it's an awful good fault-free hog. Young man's guilt right here will be reserved. Congratulations.
And your Dark Cross Division Reserve, Paul Shaner.
In my mind, it was close between a pair of them. I said we're very different for reserve, but the one I'm going to use third, I just love how production-oriented this hog is, how open up he is underneath and in his rib shape, and then by his second most impressive back, of the ones out here in the drive behind our champion. He's a little burlier than our particular reserve champion. I just thought he got too sway in his top, and he just wasn't quite as well enough balanced in general. But the young man's bear right here will be third overall. Congratulations.
And rounding out our top 5 for your Dark Cross finals. In 5th place, we have Kaylee Eider. In 4th place, Samantha Spraker. And your 3rd place, Dark Cross finisher Landon Cedarblom. In the holding pins now, we have AOB Market Hog Class 1. That's any other breed. Market Hog Class 1 in the holding pins. First call, AOB Market Hog Class 2. AOB Market Hog Class 1, Fritz Greibel, Caleb Stowe, Mackenzie Hunter, Kimberly Williams. That's Class 1. Hey, I missed the second page on this one. Also out here in AOB Market Hog Class 1, we have Oliver Grable, Delcy McSpadden, Reese Reardon, Jackson Barnhart, and Caitlin Miller.
Well, you can definitely tell we started showing down-eared pigs. Got a little rodeo-like out here for a second, but these two, the Spot and Duroc hogs, kind of rise to the top for me because they're the better balanced, better muscled hogs. But of the pair, I think there's one that's just better designed because she's bigger bone, a little neater about her head, neck, and crest. We'll use the Spot gilt to be first place in this particular class. The Duroc bear that comes in second, though, man, he is open over his loin and his rib. He's got probably a tick more ham in him than this hog that wins the class, but unfortunately, he just gets a little frailer bone, a little softer in those pasterns, a little more jammed up in his head and neck. The Duroc that's going to come in third, one that just continued to grow on me. This bear has got a lot of length and extension. He's neater up to his head and neck compared to that hog in second. He's wide in his pin set. Unfortunately, he just gets too plain in his overall muscle shape, a little narrower from behind compared to those top two. The Spot gilt coming next excels the class instead of muscle and leanness, potential cutability, very impressive in those regards, but she's so tight muscled, it takes away from her structural integrity and her structural correctness. She gets humped up in her top, really hard moving. That was a close placing in third, but I decided to go with a more athletic animal. Kind of a logical placing here in fifth in this York gilt. She's better designed and more functional than those ones behind her, not near the muscle of those in front of her though, so we got to slide her down a bit. Another York gilt coming out next, very expressive in her muscle shape, unfortunately not really fresh in her overall appearance, fresh overall in her presence. We'd like to change her there and just pull her apart underneath in her skeletal design. Another gilt coming in next, another Yorkshire coming in next, I should say, maybe a touch deeper bodied than that one directly in front of her, unfortunately just too light muscled. As we move on down the lineup, the Berkshire gilt, or Berkshire coming next, a lot of length and extension, unfortunately just too narrow in her overall design, and the Duroc's going to round the class out. Really long fronted and up tall fronted, unfortunately the hardest doing, lightest muscled one in the class.
And coming back from AOB Market Hog Class 1, Reese Reardon and Caleb Stowe. Entering the ring now, we have AOB Class 2, Milo Greibel, Carly McSpadden, Samantha Funk, Ellie Berger, Walker Coonsey, Marty Babb, Colby Moisey, Isabella Brown, and Presley Willis. At the conclusion of this class, we'll have the AOB Division Finals.
You can get, this is a very challenging pair, in my opinion. They're very different in their type and kind. Both of them have big things you'd like to change about them, but I think for me, the one that's just a little more fault-free, a little more functional and the right kind is the Duroc. We're going to start with him. He's just taller fronted, more extended through his front end, and then he's just more correct on his hind leg. He's square in the way he moves away from you. The White Hog that's going to come in second, initially I wanted to use him. He's a little denser in his middle body, which I like. He's not wanting to let himself be shown out here. He wants to duck his head a lot and not really go. But when you move in behind him, I put him second because he is really bowy on his hind legs. If we square him up there, I like him to win, but I just can't quite get over that the longer I studied him. But appreciate his proportionality, his density, his production look. The Duroc that's coming in third, this gilt, got a lot of growth and extension to her. She's more similar to our class winner in that regard. Unfortunately, just not real fresh, and her overall body needs more flank as well. Young lady Spot coming out next, one that's got a lot of growth and extension, really tall fronted, long and level in its overall presentation. Unfortunately, move in behind that gilt, she's way too narrow. Coming next in lineup, we got a Barra, up-eared Barra, that's got some shape right behind his blade, and that's why he went fifth for me, but probably one of the lightest muscled hogs in the class through his rump, a little frailer bone. The Berkshire appearing hog that comes next, one that's neat, up through his head and neck, acceptable there, wants to get really steep in his rump and just not have enough muscle expression when you see him from behind. The hog that's coming in next, I believe that is a spot hog that the young man brings, a Barra, one that gets really dingy and frail in his overall bone work, just a little too round in his overall shape. We need more squareness and crispness to go along with it. The York that's squealing and not acting real well, I like his lean growth, his overall extension and frame, unfortunately just too hard-bodied, and maybe the lightest muscled pig in this particular class. And the hog we're going to round out with, one that's just having a hard time getting around the ring. He's really laboring in his overall skeleton, or just too much condition in this guy. We need more potential cutability and freshness and leanness, but he definitely is wider and heavier muscle than the hog directly in front of him.
Coming back from AOB Class 2, Presley, Willis, and Ellie Berger. They'll be headed to our AOB final, and joining them will be Caleb Stowe and Reese Reardon. Any other breed final, division final, coming up next.
Here for our champion AOBs, been some nice breed pigs and a lot of different types and kinds. And when you get that, for me, I just kind of go back to trying to find the ones that are most fault-free. Both of these hogs got enough muscle and dimension to them. Of the pair, I think there's one's just a nickel better design, the way this hog lays out of its hip. And then I think it's also steps on more foot and bone. Use the spot gilt to be the champion. Congratulations.
And your AOB champion, Reese Reardon.
Out here for reserve, we got a pair of Duroc bears that are extremely similar in the way they're made in their skeleton. Well, we'd like to tweak both of them. It's very similar, the way they're put together, but of the pair, there's one just a little further along, a little fresher, a little more of him today. We'll use the heavyweight to be reserved. Congratulations.
And your any other breed, reserve division champion Presley Willis. Entering the ring now, we have Progress Market Hog Class 1, Vincent Paliato, Riley Averiette, Claudia Campbell, Caden Averiette, Declan Vickery.
Here in our progress show, weight doesn't mean quite as much because we're not a market show, and I think there's one out here, regardless of weight, that excels in terms of design, presence, and freshness. The young man's Calico Guild over here is going to be our class winner. Congratulations to him. I think that one needs to rise to the top. Second gets a little closer for me, but I'm going to use the blue bear of the young ladies right here in front of me. That thing's opened up and shapely in his overall design. He's got some width from behind. Not quite as unique in the way he's put together from the silhouette standpoint compared to our class winner. Gets a little closer here for third, but the young man's black and white hog in the corner is going to go third just because how robust he is in his rib cage, his depth of flank. He's got some width down his top and out of his hip, but not quite the design and freshness of these two hogs on the top of the class. Young man's blue hog right here is going to go fourth overall, very expressively muscled, a lot of lean muscle growth so far to this point in his life. Unfortunately, really tight middle, really hard in his overall body type, a little off in the way he handles his hind leg. And then the belted hog that's going to round the class out. Really like the depth of rib and easy fleshing ability he has, very modern in his look in that regard. Unfortunately, just the frailest bone, lightest muscle, and poorest balance one in this particular class. So let's give him a round of applause as we get started here in our progress show.
And your winner of Progress Market Hog Class 1, Vincent Pagliato. Entering the chutes now, Progress Market Hog Class 2, Bailey Chatwell, Delaney Chatwell, Emery Chadwell, Cade Knopp, and Charlie Chadwell.
In our final class of Progress Hogs, I think an outstanding individual to win in this calico gilt. She checks all the boxes, design and balance and structure and eye appeal and freshness and back shape. I think just a really, really, really nice hog. And then it gets real challenging from there, but the young lady in the pink shirt is going to be second with her gilt. I think in terms of design and skeletal freedom and looseness of skeleton, she's the second best in here. She'll be second place. And for third, it gets a little closer too, but I'm going to use this belted gilt right here to be third because she just has some rib and volume to her, some muscle and added density compared to the other hogs in the class. For fourth overall, we'll use young ladies board, or fourth in class, we'll use this blue rump bear right here.
So you don't really want to scruff it, but you can even, I don't know, that's what I would do, but you have to have control over it. If you're not comfortable, switch back.
It's okay. I can work.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Because I want you to be safe and I want the rabbit to be safe. So Let's just switch back, okay?
I
It's
don't
easier.
think that rabbit's
Okay.
safe either
You don't
way.
think this rabbit's safe? Okay.
It's wild.
Okay. Do you want to walk around with it? Do you feel comfortable or no?
I do.
Okay. Yeah, you can go back to your spot. Sorry, wasn't giving very good direction. You guys want to do the same thing?
And do you want
Please?
to sit it down then?
Yeah. Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah, I think we're good. I think we're good.
All right. So we have. So this is your only class of juniors.
Yeah.
So we've got some good awards for that.
Okay.
So we'll start with your core.
You guys